Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Stando TV and welcome to another episode of The Game Report. This week's episode we will be talking about unfinished games and being patched in post-release. We'll also be talking about my review of Horizon Zero Dawn. Don't forget that you can get the full episode of The Game Report 1 week early by heading over to patreon.com/StandoTV for only $1 before it posts here for free on YouTube. And with that being said, let's get on to the show. And first, let's start with the news you guys care about. And of course, the news is brought to you by the Patreon producers of the show. With big shout outs to Tech Gladiator, Own Dizzle, and Air-11. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Now let's get on to the news. CD Projekt Red, let's talk about them first, because it turns out that we may be seeing Cyberpunk 2077 relatively soon, sometime before 2019. How do we know this? Well, CD Projekt Red has applied for a government grant to secure some funding for itself as it goes on making the kind of ambitious and breathtaking game like The Witcher 3. But the true point of interest for many fans here will be that the applications for these grants for Cyberpunk, the time I mentioned, is from January 2016 to June 29th, 2019. What does this mean? It means that in turn, Cyberpunk 2077 must meet its development milestones and deadlines within this period. This seems to imply that CD Projekt Red is looking at 2019 release date for the game at the latest, depending on how fast development of the game ends up being. It could release before then, or right at the edge of the time frame. Very little is known about Cyberpunk 2077 for now, but hopefully we get to see more of the game at E3 this year. And I am totally looking forward to it because Witcher 3 blew me away. But if you're looking for Witcher 4, it may not be coming as soon as you think, despite some rumors you may have read on the internet. Matter of fact, it was falsely reported by several sites this week that The Witcher 4 was in development. And this was primarily recycling a tweet from 2016 before the Blood and Wine expansion came out, where the developer had said, quote, "It's too early to talk about it, but it's not like we're forgetting about this brand. It wouldn't be fair towards the fans. We work within a universe for over a dozen years now, and I don't think it's going to be the end of it." And this, of course, was right before the Blood and Wine and the Heart of Stone expansions were being released for the game. So that's what he was talking about, were the expansions for The Witcher 3. But it seems like since then, all of the focus has been shifted to Cyberpunk 2077. So there's likely no way that The Witcher 4 will arrive anytime soon. Marcin Lewinsky also said, "We are a publicly traded company, so we cannot comment on that, but I can assure you that we're not working on another Witcher." So, sorry guys. Don't shoot the messenger. And that just goes to show you not to believe everything that you read on the internet. Just saying. And weirdly enough, Xbox and the Supreme Court have a hearing together. What? Yeah, that's right. The U.S. Supreme Court is planning to hear arguments filed by Xbox 360 users against Microsoft over scratched video game discs. Nearly 10 years ago, a group of gamers sued Microsoft, claiming the Xbox 360 console scratched their video games because of a product defect. Those individuals filed for a class action status, meaning the plaintiffs would be considered as a group with a bigger legal consequences. But a federal judge in Seattle denied them the class certification. After filing another lawsuit in 2011, the plaintiffs tried unsuccessfully to get the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to review the decision on their class certification. The problem was federal appeal courts typically can only review the final decisions of district courts. So although the plaintiffs in the lawsuit were denied class action status, the individual lawsuits brought by the people who said the Xbox 360 scratched their disc lived on. That meant the appeals court couldn't review them. The plaintiffs argued the case only made sense with the class action status because the damages to individuals' games were negligible when compared to the cost of legal proceedings. The district court's decision not to certify the plaintiffs as a class would have meant the end of the road, but as it happens with most cases filed as class actions. But this is where it gets kind of interesting. In an unusual move, the individual plaintiffs asked the courts to voluntarily dismiss their case, which in legal terms is a final decision. Of course, legal terms are always common sense terms, and in this case the plaintiffs dismissed their claims under the condition that they could be revived if the appeals court granted class action status. The legal rigmarole resulted in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that largely sided with the plaintiffs. Microsoft then asked the Supreme Court to review the case and determine whether the loophole is legally permissible. The precise question that's being considered here is whether a federal court of appeals has jurisdiction to review an order denying class certification after the named plaintiffs voluntarily dismissed their individual claims. And so it looks like that Xbox could be paying out a lot of money to these individuals for scratched Xbox 360 games due to defective hardware. 10 years later. Wow. And if you've played Mass Effect Andromeda since its release, there is no doubt that you've ran across some very disturbing animations with those dead eyes that are all over the internet with memes. The one thing that you can always guarantee on, though, is that BioWare always listens to their fans. Some would say they actually do it too much. They're too reactionary when it comes to things like the infamous Mass Effect 3 ending. But don't think anybody will be complaining if they improve the animation in Mass Effect Andromeda, though, and that's what they're now hinting might happen. This isn't expected to change any of the more infamous scenes, but on Twitter, lead designer Ian S. Fraser has implied that they may come later. As a matter of fact, he says, "We're looking at patching lots of issues and want to strongly support the game moving forward. I can't say more just yet." He also suggested that the curiously limited character customization might be improved in a new patch also. And matter of fact, he says, "Can't promise anything yet, but we're certainly evaluating various options for making it better." And there's every reason to expect BioWare will try to fix these issues with updates. But that leads us to our topic of the show. So let's go ahead and talk about that. And this week's topic of the week, of course, is video games being released before they're finished. They're actually finished. That has been a huge problem since last generation, the PS3, Xbox 360 era of video games, especially when more and more gamers have come online and they can get patches to fix their game post-release. As a matter of fact, we've seen this with the biggest offender not too recent was Ubisoft's The Division. We also saw it with another big game that they had a problem with that I know a lot about, Assassin's Creed Unity, with all the glitches and bugs and stuff that was fixed 6 months later. Matter of fact, it's actually a good game now that it's fixed, but it wasn't when I played it, so there you go. And I think it's because we're not holding these video game publishers to a higher standards, because they know that we're going to buy their annualized releases no matter what. Activision, for example, releases Call of Duty every year, and we just kind of let it go, you know, when something doesn't work the way it's supposed to. But don't think that we punish those that do get it right their first time. The Witcher 3, a huge success, right? Sold millions and millions of copies. The most recent Horizon Zero Dawn, an epic game. Grand Theft Auto 5, great single player. Yeah, we had to patch a lot of multiplayer stuff when multiplayer finally arrived, but the initial game was great, right? For Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption, Rockstar, Naughty Dog, you know, the Uncharted games, Nintendo. A lot of these publishers seem to get it right, developers / publishers. But it seems like the big ones like EA, Ubisoft, Activision, Square Enix, even Capcom seem to get it wrong. Remember, Street Fighter V had netcode issues along with Battlefield 4 when it first released. Marvel vs. Capcom on console still has netcode issues to this day. And with many of these big companies holding the biggest franchises in video games, they know that you're going to buy their content anyway, that it doesn't really matter. You're going to buy it. You're going to purchase it. So they make these ridiculous deadlines that sometimes the developers just can't meet. They can't iron out. The best thing that you can ever hear about a video game is for it to be delayed, right? Most of the time. For example, we see Grand Theft Auto 5 got delayed, huge delays, and that game came out and it was damn near perfect upon release. However, sometimes the delay doesn't even help. For example, the PC version of Batman Arkham Knight, horrendous release there that kind of got patched later and it kind of works now, but still not to the best of its ability. The console versions of the game still look much prettier and run much better. No Man's Sky, it's going to be, you basically bought an alpha with that game. That game is going to be patched for over the next 10 years probably, or as long as Hello Games can still afford to put someone in the development chair. Now you can expect this with MMOs and multiplayer only games. I would expect it a lot more because you don't know how many people are going to play your game online upon release. But when it comes to single player games, I just don't understand what the deal is, why you can't push for a more perfect game before it's released. Uncharted 4 got delayed and it was almost a masterpiece of a game. So we saw that with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Sure, it has some hardware issues, frame rate issues running in the full screen 1080p mode that could be patched later on, but as a handheld game, the game works pretty well and everything looks okay and it feels okay. And so it's just frustrating to see something like this happen to Mass Effect. And Mass Effect, these companies have to have QA testers that tell them, hey, your character animations here are bogus, man. Look at their eyes. I mean, they're just dead inside. There's no soul here. Surely you have a QA tester that's saying this isn't going to work, but then you got the publishers that say, well, we got to make it work because we got to make money for this physical quarter because we didn't do anything the last physical quarter, blah, 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 blah. And that's generally what happens, unfortunately. So I wish that there was something that we as gamers can do about it. And it's not as easy as saying vote with your wallets here, right? Like you can say vote with your wallets when it comes to microtransactions and paid DLC content, and just say don't buy games that pressure you into that, or annualize games not being broken and things like that. Just don't buy their annual iterations and maybe they'll get the message. But with Mass Effect, it's a different story, isn't it? Kind of. The game does have microtransactions. Just saying. But as far as this, you don't know when the next Mass Effect's going to come, so a lot of people want to play it on day one and stuff. And unfortunately, we all feel like alpha testers, right? Alpha and beta testers. And that shouldn't be the case. There needs to be some sort of system in place to hold these publishers and developers to higher standards. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what we can do. Maybe you guys who are a lot smarter on the internet than me know what we can do, and you can leave a comment down below or make your voice heard. One of the things that we all can do is just everybody tweet at BioWare and say, fix this shit, this is bad, please don't ever do this again, blah blah. Making your voice heard, that's really the only thing that I know that you can do, is make a video, make a blog, make a tweet, let them hear you, make sure you're being heard. Post it on Facebook, post it on Instagram, do whatever you gotta do and make sure that you're being heard. And then if the companies don't listen to you, then you boycott their games. Seems legit, right? That's my idea. But my idea is a long-term process. What is your idea? Maybe you've got a quicker return process. But like I said, you can always leave that in the comments below. Thank you for letting me rant on this subject, because it is frustrating, and I know I'm not the only one that it frustrates, right? And now let's get to my review of Horizon Zero Dawn. I have spent the last few weeks with Horizon Zero Dawn, and I can honestly say, guys, that I am in love with this game. This game just nails everything perfectly. Let's start by talking about the game story. The game opens up with Aloy. She is an outcast, brave Nora Brave. Why? We don't know. That's the whole idea of this game, is its mystery, its intrigue, and it's constantly pushing you. Nora seeks to become a part of the Nora tribe by participating in what's called the Proving. And once that she is in the tribe, she gets to ask the question, who is my mother? Who is my father? That's the plan. That's the idea. Why was she outcast as a baby? But then the game opens up to why the machines are in this world. These machine beasts have taken over the world, and why are they going crazy? And that's where the game gets intriguing and interesting, and the mystery of the world just pulls you along. And it's a beautiful world too. Let's talk about the graphics of the game. The graphics and the art style and the art direction of this game are beautifully executed. It really feels like a post-apocalyptic world that is starting to regain traction, and this is what it would feel like when the human tribes return to the city. You see rustic monuments of old concrete worlds, like red lights and rusted out cars and things with vegetation growing over it, and the earth swallowing it up. It's a beautiful delight, which leads to the color direction. The colors that are used to depict the world are fantastically chosen. I love the art direction of this game. I love the designs of the characters. The characters are wearing these metal pieces around their garments that they have collected from some of these ancient ruins and the ancient civilization, which is us. And the sound is fantastic too. Every cling and clang as you hit a piece of metal or fire an arrow and hear it ricochet off of a vulnerable part of one of these machine monsters is just a real treat. Explosions sound fantastic. Shrieks and shrills, and the voice acting is all well done here. And the gameplay. I love the gameplay of this game because everything that you do within the game matters. Every encounter you're encountering to make more ammunition, to make more garments, or to upgrade your garments, or to upgrade your weapons. You don't have a huge variety of weapons, but you can upgrade these weapons insurmountably, and that helps you take out these animal creatures in new ways. And that's important because there are certain areas of the map as you travel along, you will constantly be introduced to new machine animals that you haven't seen before, and each machine animal has a different vulnerability or a different invulnerability, and this lays down the groundwork for the gameplay loop, which is a fantastic gameplay loop because every encounter, it's a life or death situation. And if you're playing on even normal, it can seem a little frustrating and hard at times, especially if you roam into a pack and you're automatically overwhelmed with a bunch of enemies all at one time, which means that combat is fast and fluent, and it moves at a smooth frame rate with beautiful resolutions. And I just can't say enough about the gameplay here. Like I said, you don't have that many weapons, which makes you think and strategize on how you're going to take out these humongous robotic beasts. And when you sum everything up together, all I can say is that it's a magical experience. Yes, this game does not do nothing new. No, this game does not do anything revolutionary, but everything that it borrows from every other game, it does perfectly well. And I might want to add that a lot of people have tried comparing this game to a Ubisoft or a Far Cry game, and they shouldn't, because this game should be compared to The Witcher 3. This game is The Witcher. I mean, think about it. Aloy has her focus, right, which is Geralt's Witcher sense. Alright, the modifications to the weapons and the way you upgrade weapons and the way that you craft your items all works like it does in The Witcher. The conversational pieces, where if you need more information, you can drag more information out. You do have choices that are consequential to your ending. There's just so much going on in this game that screams The Witcher, and if you plan it, the smooth combat and the way everything works out, when you're playing it and strategizing on how you're going to tackle a situation, you will understand what I'm talking about. This game is a carbon copy of The Witcher, and that's not a bad thing, because The Witcher 3 was great. Sure, it's a different plot, it's a different setting, but you guys get the general gist. I can go on gushing about this game for hours on end. I am just completely in love with this game. I like Aloy as a character. I can't, unfortunately, talk too much more about this game without spoiling it. I can, however, say that this game is legendary, guys. This is a perfect score, 10 out of 10 game. This is the reason that you have a PlayStation 4. If you own a PlayStation 4 and you're not playing this game, there's something wrong with you. You need to go out and get this game. Even if you don't like RPGs, this is just enough. It's an action RPG. There's lots of action. It's a good time. Yeah, there are a few menu item type RPG stuff, but you can be an RPG idiot and still have a good time with this video game. It is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, it gets legendary status here on the channel. And that's going to do it for this week's issue of the Game Report. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget, you can follow me over at Twitter at StandoTV. Visit StandoTV.com for more episodes like this and other content. Don't forget, for daily live gaming, you can head over to twitch.tv/StandoTV. Also, don't forget to support the channel if you want to by heading over to Patreon, patreon.com/StandoTV. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Until next time, guys, remember that I love your face. We'll catch you next time. Have a good one.